Hello and welcome to another round of Rapid Reviews. We've got a lot to look at in this episode. Let's get into it. Okay, let me get my angry review out of the way first. This is Starscream, Generation 1 reissue, Walmart exclusive, part of a line of G1 reissues that have been recolored and repackaged as Transformers the Movie toys. This series is up to about 6 figures, I believe, so far. Many of them are still available at Walmart on the app. These Starscreams have been hanging around my local Walmarts for months and months at the original price of around $33, and I've been waiting them out to see if they go on clearance, and they did. So I picked this one up at half price. And I am not happy that I did. This thing is a mess. So first of all, in robot mode, we can see that the Decepticon symbols are upside down. Back in G1, where we had stickers to apply, we would always put these right side up when he's in robot mode. So there's the first problem. Second problem is something that Hasbro has been doing with Generation 1 reissues for going on 20 years now is remolding certain parts to comply with modern safety standards. So they've done the same thing here. These null rays are probably about 40 to 50% longer than the originals. They reach down now to his ankles, which looks a bit silly. But worse than that is the remolding of the cluster bombs. Now, anyone that has a Generation 1 Starscream or any of the other Seekers, you see what the problem is here, right? The original stem on the cluster bombs came out to about here, so they would fit flush inside the launchers. This is ridiculous. Look how stupid that looks. So with this, the only thing I can say is, Hasbro, pick a lane. Who are you marketing these towards? Kids do not want Generation 1 reissues. These have been sitting around for months unsold in the kids' toy section. If you're marketing them to adults, then mark them as adult collectibles and have them sold as such, without all this stupid remolding. At the very least, if you can't have spring-loaded missiles that are that small, because you're afraid you'll get sued if somebody chokes, take the springs out of the launchers. You're not going to have a bunch of 50-year-old men shooting missiles at each other going pew pew! We don't need springs in the launchers for display. A couple of other things. First, as far as I can tell, there are no stickers included with these. I couldn't find any in the package, and I looked at the photos on the Walmart app, and they do not show any stickers. Stickers were very important with G1, because not only did they provide additional deco, they would also cover up all these unsightly gaps and holes. The original toys had stickers that went in here and down the chest to cover up all these holes. So the lack of stickers on this just makes it unsightly. The other thing is, he comes with a small Megatron pistol, and as far as I can tell, I only got half the pistol. There is another half that clips in down here that has the stock on it, and these reissue fists have been remolded so you can put one half of the pistol in the top of his hand and attach the other half to the bottom, so it looks like he's holding a complete Megatron. These movie reissues are part of the stupid plastic-free packaging initiative, where all the accessories are balled up in tissue paper. I'm usually very careful, tearing apart all those little pieces of tissue to make sure I didn't miss anything. So I don't think I missed the other half of this gun. Possible that I did, but I have had experience with other plastic-free packaging toys, specifically a Transformer that was an Amazon exclusive that was shipped missing pieces. So it's quite possible the other half of the Megatron gun was just never in the package. Here is the jet mode, and luckily I did get the front landing gear piece that comes separately, and I think I will probably just display this guy in jet mode, because I don't like the way he looks in robot mode with the upside down symbols and all those empty holes. You can even see some here in the jet mode. There should be stickers that go on top of these as well. So I'm glad I waited till these were on half price clearance, because I am very unimpressed with this release. And even though I'd like a few G1 reissues in my collection, I'm probably going to think twice before picking up any more of these Walmart exclusive movie reissues. The first of 3 Marvel Legends figures in this video, Ronan the Accuser. This is a larger sized deluxe figure that I originally had on pre-order. but I canceled the pre-order because I was trying to cut down on costs. But he eventually went on sale as part of Amazon Prime Day. So I did pick him up on sale, and he is a nice looking figure. He was originally designed by Jack Kirby for the legendary Lee Kirby run on Fantastic Four, and they have kept that Kirby aesthetic, which I appreciate. He comes with his giant hammer called the Universal Weapon. He's got double jointed knees, but only single jointed elbows because of the size of his biceps. It's a nice sculpt, nice paint, a bit of a metallic finish along the green of his arms and legs. His shoulder armor, the bottom of his tunic, and the belt are all made of flexible plastic, so they don't hinder his movement too much, and some decent posability despite his large frame. Definitely a nice figure to pick up if you're into the Marvel cosmic characters. Next is Magneto from the Marvel Legends X-Men 97 line, based on the upcoming Disney Plus animated series, which is in turn based on the original X-Men cartoon from the 1990s. I needed a Magneto in his classic comic book costume, and this one fits the bill. The only accessories he comes with are a pair of alternate hands. He's got a full range of articulation, double jointed elbows, double jointed knees, bicep swivel, thigh swivel, ab crunch, basically all the moving parts that have become standard in Marvel Legends. Obviously, he does not have a cloth goods cape. It is plastic. It's rigid, but not too rigid. It's a little bit more flexible than some of the other Marvel Legends capes I've seen. It is attached to the piece around his neck with the studs on it, and that seems to be permanently attached to his chest. So if you wanted to do any customizing, you'd probably have to use some heat and try to pry that off, but I'm not sure what's underneath there if you'll damage the figure trying to get that off. The helmet is not removable, although it is a separate piece made of a flexible plastic. I assume there's no hair underneath the helmet. It's probably just a bare head with the helmet glued on. There are some nice paint applications on the face though, around the mouth, the eyes, and the eyebrows, and there's a little bit of shadowing around the eyes. Another good looking figure, although I would have liked some energy effect accessories to clip onto his hands, but with Hasbro's cost cutting lately, it is what it is. The Human Fly is an obscure Spider-Man villain that was sold as part of an Amazon exclusive box set of 5 figures. The Human Fly was the only figure that I really wanted out of that set. So rather than buy the entire box set, I just went to eBay, found somebody that was selling one separately, and picked him up that way. And the cost of this figure was actually less than the per figure price in that box set, so I got a good deal on him. The Human Fly was the villain in the very first Amazing Spider-Man annual that I read, which was number 10 back in 1976. He was the indirect result of one of J. Jonah Jameson's revenge schemes on Spider-Man. I do really like obscure characters, and the Human Fly is certainly one of those. His appearance has changed over the years as the character has mutated, but this is based on that very first appearance in 1976. So as with Magneto, he's got all the standard articulation that I mentioned earlier. I'm not an expert on the Marvel Legends bucks. I'm not sure which buck this is. I assume it's one of the standard ones they use for generic characters. Just pop on a new head and some unique accessories, and there you go. He came with an alternate set of open hands, and his wings are attached to this backpack piece. The wings can go from straight out to slightly upward, and that's about it. The head sculpt is cool with the big red eyes, and they did do a nice job with his open screaming mouth, especially the paintwork in there. Not much to this figure. I bought him out of pure nostalgia, and I'm sure a lot of casual fans will not even have heard of him, but I like him. During the last rapid review video, I showed you a set of DC superhero minifigures. that were available as fast food premiums at Wendy's. This time I have two different sets of little monochromatic minifigures to show you. The first being these Scooby-Doo Tiny Mites. Right now these are being sold exclusively at Walmart stores in the impulse buy section at each checkout counter. They are blind box figures that are sold 3 figures per box for a little under $4. There are 12 figures in the set and they come in various colors. When I went to Walmart, each checkout counter had a display of these with 18 boxes in each. So they were plentiful the first time I went. And the reason I put blind box in air quotes is because the boxes are actually this translucent mystery machine. So this opens up and stores 3 figures in each one. And the only thing that holds this together is a strip of packaging with the name of the toy and the barcode on it. So obviously with this being translucent, you can see the figures inside and figure out which figures are in the box as well as which colors. So it's pretty easy to get a complete set. I got all 12 different figures on my first try, and I only had to buy 5 of these to get a complete set of figures. I love minifigures, and I also love toys based on classic Saturday morning cartoons. So I was happy to find these and add them to the collection. Out of the 12 figures, the only 2 members of Mystery Inc. are, of course, Shaggy and Scooby. The other 10 figures in the set are classic ghost characters from the original Scooby-Doo cartoon, Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? There's the Minor 49er, the Black Knight, and the Witch Doctor, as well as the Ghost Clown, Charlie the Robot, and the Creeper. And rounding out the set, we have Redbeard, the Space Kook, the Ghost of Captain Cutler, and the Green Ghost. My second minifigure purchase is this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem bucket of minifigures from Playmates. This is a Target exclusive. It includes 50 figures, but only 25 different characters taken from both the new Mutant Mayhem movie and the 2012 Nickelodeon series. So half the figures in this bucket are going to be multiples. Let's take a look. First of all, I noticed this slot in the shell cover. I assume this is meant to be used as a coin bank once the figures are out of it. First up, we're getting 3 sets of the Mutant Mayhem style turtles, as well as 3 sets of the 2012 style turtles. Other multiples from the 2012 series are 4 Krang Utroms, 2 Splinters, 4 Foot Soldiers, 2 Baxter Stockmans, and 2 Shredders. So with the Utroms and the Foot Soldiers having 4 of each makes sense if you want an army build. And rounding out the 2012 series, we have 1 each of Dog Pound, Rat King, the Cockroach Terminator, Metalhead, Fish Face, and Snakeweed. There are no other multiples of Mutant Mayhem characters, so you'll get 1 each of Splinter, April, Leatherhead, Bebop, Superfly, and Rocksteady. In all, this is not a bad little set of minifigures. The price on the bucket is $20 for 50 figures, but as we saw, you're only getting 25 unique characters. But even with that, it's going to be less than $1 per figure for just the unique characters, so it's not a bad deal. Of course, all being sort of loose in a bucket, several of these are going to come out with bent limbs and warped weapons that you're going to have to do a little hot and cold work on to straighten out. Reverse Flash from the Mego World's Greatest Superheroes 50th Anniversary Villains Wave. Reverse Flash was not originally released by Mego in the 1970s, so this is a brand new figure for this line. And yes, this one is in the box right now. I'm going to open him up and look at him, but I'm going to put him right back in the box because I do display my Mego superheroes in these window boxes. I was not going to pick up this Reverse Flash originally, but I saw him hanging in Walmart and I really liked how he looked in this box with that orange coloration and the yellow of his costume. I think it really pops, and he's going to look good on the shelf, so I grabbed him. The other villains in this wave are all reissues of 1970s figures. There's the Penguin and the Joker, which I looked at in a previous video on this channel, and the Riddler. Reverse Flash is very colorful, bright yellow with the red. He's got the red eyes, which I'm not sure if those originated in the comics or in the TV show. I know he always had red eyes when he was using his powers on the Flash TV show on the CW. Two problems I noticed. One is the chest emblem is a paper sticker, and that was slightly bent coming out of the box, and the black has already started to crack around the symbol. So they should probably use something a little sturdier for the costume symbols rather than the old paper stickers they were using back in the 70s. The other thing with this figure is the limbs, the joints are really, really tight. I've never had a Mego figure where the joints were this tight before. I'm afraid to actually bend them for fear of breaking them. This is that new style Mego body. I haven't had a lot of experience with these type of bodies, but I would recommend taking off the costume and heating up the limbs if you're going to pose these modern Megos. I'm not going to bother doing that since he's going to go right back in the box for display. It wouldn't be a toy review video on this channel if I didn't have a kaiju or two to throw in. And this time we have Titanosaurus, whose one and only appearance was in 1975 in the Terror of Mechagodzilla. This Titanosaurus figure is made by Bandai, and it was exclusive to the Godzilla store in Japan. So I did have to pay a little more to import this figure. But Titanosaurus figure releases from Bandai have been few and far between, and every time it goes out of print, these secondary market prices shoot up to around $100 or more. So even with the extra cost of importing this one direct from the Godzilla store, it was worth it. This figure has a lot of paint on it. Lots of reds, golds, and blacks to really bring out all the sculpted details. He's got scales sculpted all over his body, all the fins on his back, fins and the antenna on his head. He's got some really cool gold paint in the eyes and a more muted gold down his neck and chest area. And the red against the white on his back fins and fishtail really pops. He's got articulation in his head and both arms and both legs. And that's about it. Pretty standard for a Godzilla series vinyl figure. Nothing much else to say about this one. He was on my short list for wanted figures, so I'm happy that Bandai got around to releasing a new version of him. This is Godzilla from 1984's The Return of Godzilla, which was edited, translated, and released in the US as Godzilla 1985. This was made by Bandai, and it was a Godzilla store exclusive. Although I did not have to import this one from Japan, Toho has opened up a new US-based Godzilla store and is selling some of the Japanese exclusives there. So I was able to get this one from that US Godzilla store. For articulation, he's got head. Both arms can go in and out at the elbow, and he can move his legs up and down. Pretty standard for this type of vinyl. Paintwork is minimal along the dorsal spines as usual, as well as the claws on his hands and feet. I think some fans have mixed feelings about the new design of The Return of Godzilla with the unusually large eyes and the fangs in the front, but I think he's kind of cool looking. Masters of the Universe Masterverse Slush Head, a new version of a character that appeared in the New Adventures of He-Man. Don't know much about this character, I just picked him up because he was cool looking. Kind of gives me a Toxic Avenger meets Dr. Octopus vibe. He's got this clear dome on his head, a mechanical backpack with 4 different tentacles that come out of it, and there's a different type of weapon on each of those appendages. Also comes with that big gun, as well as 2 extra sets of hands, an alternate head, and an alternate backpack where you can plug in those appendages, and it's also got some sort of a little brain inside it. Like I said, I'm not really familiar with this character, so I'm not sure what that little brain is all about. The dome on his armor is not detachable, so you have to take this whole armor piece off him if you wanted to swap out the head. However, the dome on this piece is detachable, and there's a ball joint in there, and you can attach the alternate head to that, and then plug in the tentacles to make a little Slush head mini-me. That piece can also plug into the back of his armor, or you can double up and have a backpack on a backpack, which seems a bit much, but it's an option. Like I said, I don't know a lot about this guy. I never watched the New Adventures of He-Man, but I did like some of the designs of the characters of that show. At one time, I had a toy from that line called Optic, who had a giant eyeball for a head. I'm hoping at some point they do that character in Masterverse. Evil Space Alien Minotaur from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Lightning Collection. I always liked the crazy space aliens from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. They've done quite a few of them in the Lightning Collection, and I always managed to get them on sale somewhere. It also helps that I love monsters from Greek mythology, which obviously inspired this character. This Minotaur is a nice solid figure. He does have some weight to him. He comes with his club, this giant shield, an alternate set of hands, an energy effect that you can attach to his horns, and he also comes with a tiny figure of himself. So correct me if I'm wrong, Power Rangers fans, but I believe it was Finster that made these little clay figures, and then Rita Repulsa brought them to life. Is that correct? Despite being a beefy boy, he does have a full range of articulation. He's got double-jointed elbows and knees. He's got bicep and thigh swivel, as well as an ab crunch. And he does have ankle articulation on his hooves. He is a really nicely balanced figure though, so you can get him into a variety of poses. I also really like the paint on this figure. He's got some silver weathering on his wristbands, as well as his skirt. And the metallic blue on those eyes really stands out. These Lightning Collection alien figures usually go for about $33, $34 original retail, but like I said, I've gotten all of them on sale, either through Amazon or Ollie's or Big Bad Toy Store, and I have not regretted one of those purchases yet. Here is the Black Manta sub from Spin Masters. This is made for their Aquaman 2 movie line in the 4-inch scale. It comes with 2 figures of the movie Aquaman and Black Manta, and each of them come with their tridents. I like the overall look of this sub, but the execution leaves a little something to be desired. First issue I had with it was that this bottom piece with the gun attached is a separate piece that you have to assemble, and this was packaged, wrapped in tissue paper, and put inside the cockpit. When I unwrapped it, I found that this gun had been bent so much that the piece almost sheared off the plastic. And you can see that there are stress marks in that plastic now. It wasn't bent when it was wrapped inside, so it had to have been bent before it was packaged. And even though it was damaged, they just packaged it up and put it in there anyway, so didn't really appreciate that. I reattached it with some Gorilla Glue and it's okay. The other problem I had with this is the size of the cockpit. As you can see, it's a very small seat and it tapers down at the bottom. If you try to get the Black Manta in a seated position, his legs splay out like that. So there's no way to get them to fit in that seat, which is a pretty glaring design error. And the other thing is, his backpack is not detachable. And this seat is very shallow, so it really can't handle having that big backpack, so you really can't get him in there properly. I found that the only way you can close this canopy is to sort of turn his feet to the side and then just kind of close him in there. I know this is meant to be a kid's toy and probably disposable, but still it should have been designed much better than that. The other problem, of course, is that you cannot possibly get his trident to store in there with him. There's just no way unless you bend it in half. I had the same kind of issues with the Hawkman Hawk ship that they released for the Black Adam movie last year. With the Spin Masters DC stuff, the Batman-centric toys seem to be the best, and these movie toys seem to lack a little something. I bought this online. I did not see it in person first. I was hoping it would be big enough to accommodate the Superpowers Black Manta from the McFarlane Superpowers line, so I could use it as a vehicle for that character, but there is no way. As far as the look of the vehicle, it is sculpted nicely. It's got some nice detail on the hull. It's not just smooth plastic. It's got some translucent orange on the bottom, as well as the eyes, and it does have some electronic lights and sounds. So it does have a nice little variety of sounds. I'm not really interested in collecting these Aquaman movie toys. Like I said, I was hoping this would fit a Superpowers Manta. But plan B for this vehicle is to customize it for another figure. Hopefully one that will seat in that cockpit a little better than the Spin Masters figure. Transformers Legacy Collection Bludgeon. A remold of the Tarn figure that was released for Legacy. This is based on the Generation 1 character who was a Pretender. Probably one of the most famous Pretenders thanks to his breakout role in the original Marvel Transformers comics. I have been collecting all the reimagined Decepticon Pretenders characters that have appeared in the Legacy line, including Skullgrin, Bombburst, and Iguanus. And Bludgeon is the latest. And like those others, this figure takes elements from the original Pretender shell and the inner robot mode, which was a tank, and combines them. The original Bludgeon Pretender shell was a skeleton warrior samurai. So you can see that in the head sculpt of this figure. He's got a very skull-looking appearance with that samurai-style helmet. He comes with a sword, as well as a couple of guns that fit on that backpack. The guns can go over his shoulders by raising up the backpack, or you can keep both guns on the backpack to form a larger weapon. The guns can come off and be held, or you can attach the guns in a couple of different ways. I've seen this with most of the Legacy figures that I have. They give you a lot of options for the weapons. The color on this figure definitely takes its cues from the Generation 1 original, with the orange, green, brown, gray, and black. I think all these colors complement each other very well. And he's got a very small, subtle Decepticon symbol right in the middle of his chest. Bludgeon has a nice compact Cybertronian tank mode. Big guns on the top, little guns from the backpack on the bottom. You can store his sword. And there are different ports all over the vehicle mode. Here, on the sides, in the middle there, and on the sides of the treads. So you can reconfigure those weapons in a variety of different ways. And you can even combine the two larger guns into one mega gun. There have been several different bludgeons over the years that have paid homage to the Generation 1 original, and this one is probably one of the best. That's it for this episode of Rapid Reviews. As always, is there anything here that you've picked up or have planned to pick up? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.